All right, here she is, current USA shortstop, Delaney Spaulding. Hey girl, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Ash. How are you?
I'm so good. I miss you
Good.
tons.
I know it's been so long.
So
Been so long.
if anybody hasn't been following the package deal, Delaney and I, we go back like what, 2 years now to
Yep.
when we were both on the roster, sharing our love for the game with other athletes across the country. I miss
I
that.
know it was always so much fun to
It
travel and then just to teach the game together and all the memories in between.
Yeah.
It's
Like
fun.
I will say though that the wake up calls at 3 a.m. and the crazy travel part,
Yeah.
it's like one of those where you think about college and the things that you miss are some of
Oh
those
yeah.
moments of like 300-yard shuttles and like awful days, but like you kind of miss that stuff.
Yeah, that's like I feel like besides the games and like obviously the fun in the game, but yes, the long bus rides, the 6 a.m.s, like the stuff that like are just absolutely do not want to be there in that moment are the one things that think about when you're all said and done. It's
Absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so stoked to have you here. You are one of the dream guests on the show.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
especially just because I know there's young athletes out there that have huge dreams and goals, and you're kind of living your dream. And so
Absolutely.
if you can start with just sharing your softball journey from when it started to where you are now, take as
hmm
long as you need to tell us because it's probably a long journey, but a really
hmm
fulfilling and awesome one for you.
Yeah, so I grew up in SoCal. So I feel like Southern California kind of gets the MO of softball country, whatever you want to call it. But I have three older sisters, so I'm the baby of my family, and they all played softball. So I grew up in a softball house, and my oldest two played D1 in college. So I was told, I obviously don't remember, but I was at the softball field when I was like weeks old because of my older sister. And so I was practically raised on the field. But I think my earliest and best memories at the field was when I was younger and I would take naps like during their games. And I just remember in the background, like hearing cheering and the game being played and birds chirping and planes flying over, and I would just fall asleep to that. And I genuinely think that's what made me also fall in love with this game. And
Wow.
so that's like some of my earliest memories with the game. I was their bat girls at certain times over the weekends. And when my sister, we all went to the same high school, Etowanda High School, which is really, really cool. And we played under the same head coach, actually.
Whoa.
So that's like something that's really, really special within my family. But I was like their good luck hug when they went to CIF, and they actually won CIF, my oldest sister, Amber. And so I was heavily involved in my sister's softball career. My oldest sister went to OU, went to Oklahoma, and I was only 8 years old when she first moved out. So she was 18, I was 8. And I just remember always going to Oklahoma with my sister. It felt like almost every single weekend. And I just had the time of my life. I was playing wall ball while she was playing. And, I was just around the game constantly. And so I was definitely destined to play softball. I 100% believe that. So, just fast forwarding, and I played on the OC Bat Busters. I played with Gary Hanning, and then I played with Mike Stith, who I got lessons for fielding and for hitting through Mike Stith before I even played with him. And I owe so much to my parents, but I also owe so much to Mike. Um, he has definitely developed me into the player and the shortstop and the hitter that I am today. And then from there, obviously, I got recruited to go to UCLA, my dream school that I didn't even know until, it kind of goes back to you don't know what you had until you graduated, and then
Yeah.
absolutely, it was my dream school. It was just about 45 minutes away from home. So that was really important to me. So I got to be there for all of my family's big accomplishments, my nephews, my niece, birthday parties. Um, and then from there in 2016, my junior year, I got I try out to be on Team USA. And then from there on out, I've been on Team USA until what was supposed to be the Olympic year. But now going into 21. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been a lot of ups and downs. But you know, that's just life. And I'm very, very thankful and I'm very blessed for my softball journey. It's got me to be a future Olympian, and I can't thank the people in my life enough that has gotten me to where I am today, because I truly believe without them, obviously the good and the bad, I would not have had this opportunity to be an Olympian or Olympian. So I just wanted to, you know, give them a quick shout out. But my parents, definitely the biggest influence in my career. Having 4 daughters, I mean, I can just imagine, you know, the struggle, the commitment of finances, time, just everything that they had to, you know, put themselves second and put their daughters first. And especially me being the last one, I can just imagine how they were feeling when they, you know, had another daughter that was going through travel ball and lessons and everything that came with the game. So they were a huge impact on me, just with my discipline, just with my love for the game. And they ultimately, you know, helped me 100% get my scholarship to go to a D1 school. So I owe them everything as well.
Wow. Wow. What a journey. There's so
Yeah.
much in that story that I want to unpack, but I want to start with your dream to play at UCLA. Now, you basically shared, you know, the fact that it's so close, like it was perfect. You were able to do all the things that maybe, you know, when you were growing up, you had to sacrifice not to be around sometimes, but being so close to home was probably the biggest reason why you went to UCLA or wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other things that you remember from your childhood that you were like, I want to play here because this?
Okay, so I will say that I'm not one to look up to, or I shouldn't say that. I'm not one to like pick something like UCLA and then like that's the only thing that I'm setting my mind to. You know, if you
Yep,
know what I mean? Like I did
absolutely.
not have a specific school that I wanted to go to.
Mm,
And when I was started getting recruited, UCLA didn't come into the picture right away. And so when they did, I didn't believe them. I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I don't believe you. Like, no way." And
yeah.
I think when they told me that I was getting recruited by UCLA, that's when I clicked in my mind of how, I guess, how good I was, because I knew the stature that UCLA was at. And so I'm like, "Okay, wait. If they are recruiting me, then that's obviously a good sign." So that's something that's like that was really cool for me to experience as, you know, a young athlete. But yeah, so I went on a visit actually to the University of Arizona. And then right after that, like I want to say the next weekend or the 2 weekends later, I went on a visit to UCLA. I absolutely fell in love with UCLA. The campus is beautiful. Not to mention the softball facilities and the tradition of softball. I never knew that I would be obsessed with tradition at UCLA like I am today. And
Mm,
I mean, I absolutely fell in love. I remember walking down the stairs to my parents when I was a freshman in high school. I remember walking down the stairs and I looked at them and I said, "I think I want to be a Bruin." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." So I called Coach I right away and I told her, and she was obviously ecstatic. We were ecstatic. And I went up that weekend and you know, big hug, and we were all just celebrating. But I did not know then what I know now about why I chose UCLA. I mean, I was young, of course. I was a freshman in high school. I saw beautiful campus, I saw tradition, I saw trophies. Um, but now looking back, it was hands down the greatest decision I have ever made. I have a great education. I have the best memories for college softball I could possibly ever dreamed of. Um, and I was close to home, like I said, and I got to, my parents were at every single game. The only game they did not go to was because my nephew was being born. Um, and then right after
Wow.
my game, I drove down and I was there for my nephew. And so I obviously did not know all of that when I committed, but
Mhm.
now looking back, I'm just so, so grateful that, you know, I had my little angel on my shoulder who told me like UCLA is it because family is so important to you and you're going to be there for every single um, milestone in your family's journey. And so it was like I said, the best decision ever.
Wow. It just sounds like a fairy tale, you know? Like, and I loved how you described that it was the dream school you never really had until, you know, it
Oh,
fell in your lap. I kind of felt the
right,
same way with Purdue.
right.
You know, my dream was to play at Notre Dame. I live like 2 hours
Mhm,
away. I would go
I
to their
remember.
camps. I'd be around that tradition. I was just like, man, this is where I want to be. But like, because of that dream, it led me to finding my actual dream school, which was Purdue. So, you
Mhm.
know, those people that, especially the young athletes that are like, oh my gosh, I want to play here. Well, you're listening to a USA shortstop who didn't even know where she wanted to go. She just wanted to be really good and see where it took her. And this
Yeah.
kind of was the byproduct of working really hard, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
So, you know, having the dream and goal is one thing, but also realizing that it's not the end all be all. It can kind of
Absolutely.
allow all of us to kind of fall in your lap, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and I think it kinda just it allows yourself to, how do I say, I mean, to not really be disappointed. I mean, if my dream school was UCLA and I don't go there, you know, like I'm not going to be considered a failure for not going to my dream school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just have your sets your mind and your goals set on characteristics rather than like a set school, and then from there, that, you know, they always say in the recruiting process, you know, create pros and cons, your checklist of what you want from each school and or from the school that you want to go to. And so I think if you have that rather than like I want to go to OU, I want to go to Purdue, I want to go to Florida or UCLA, you know, just have that list of what characteristics you want in a school, in a program, in a city, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's so good. And another thing that you said earlier, and I want to unpack on, is how you called Southern California the softball country. And I want to dive into this because I'm a girl from the Midwest. A lot of the people listening are probably from the Midwest as well. And I know there's some people in California and they get it like you get it. But I was always curious why, you know, all the best tournaments were being played out in California. It looked like some of the best rosters all had California players. So what is it that makes it the softball country, at least from your opinion? And what is it
Mhm.
like, you know, growing up in Southern California and going through, you know, travel ball systems and having different coaches for different things? What was
Yeah.
that, you know, little journey like for you from just being in that part of the country?
So I will say when I graduated high school in 2013. It's a lot different than it is now, I will say that, but I
Hmm.
believe we're on the right track to going back to competitive travel softball.
Hmm.
Um, but I think SoCal, and I never really thought of this when I was in the process of going through travel ball middle school and then high school, but we really do have great weather almost 365. And so we can play outside all the time. And I think that's why you see a lot of back east Midwest schools or sorry, teams flying into California, Arizona to play. And because we have great weather and we can afford to have the tournaments because we know it's probably not going to rain
Hmm.
to plan a tournament. And
Yeah.
so, with that, also, I've always been on a travel ball team. We didn't really focus on the recruiting part of it. We competed, and we competed to win. I think
Mm.
back then, especially with more so you than me, I would say, and with my older sisters, they had tournaments where there was a winner, there was a champion, one winner to second place, third place, maybe, and they competed to win. And that ultimately made them better. And that
Mhm.
ultimately got them recruited. So I think it all trickles in together. And I think we kind of fell out of that a little bit. We focus so much on the exposure tournaments and everybody has to play to get recruited and everybody's a winner. And it's like, no, when I grew up and I played, I was challenged because there was another shortstop or another middle infielder, or there was somebody younger than me or older than me that was better than me. So I had to get better. But with
Mm,
that, I'm learning from the girls around me who are just as good, if not better than me. And so that made me better and a better athlete. And I think that's why I'm so grateful for the Batbuster organization, because they have a very good system and girls and athletes in their organization, where I was just learning so much just from sitting the bench or just from being at practice. I mean, the knowledge that I was gaining was tremendous. So I think just dialing it back with SoCal, at least when I was in travel ball, is we just competed to win all the time. We had
mhm.
tournaments where we wanted to be the number one team. If we had college coaches in the stands, that's great, because they are seeing me compete and my competitive nature and how to win a game. They don't want it. They would love to see me go 3 for 3, but they want to see how I am competing to the team to ultimately win a championship or that tournament, because that's what they want. They want gamers. They want girls that are going to lay it all out there to be a champion. So I think that's kind of what separates SoCal, or California in general, when it comes to that. Because I mean, when I was in high school, we competed to win everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that's so good. And it bugs me a lot of times when, I hear big organizations like that get a bad rap for the fact that they have so many teams and,
yeah.
but like that's the thing like about great organizations like Batbusters, it's they do have a ton of teams, but you are going to be placed on a team where you can compete and you can be challenged. And when you've done that,
Mhm.
you're going to go to this team and then you're going to go to this team.
Mhm.
Which is why I ultimately played for the Indiana Magic up here in
Mhm.
Indiana,
Mhm.
because when I decided I wanted to play D1 and I wanted to be challenged, I needed to be on a team that would play the Batbusters and that would play,
Yeah.
all these other teams that are just really well known. And so I love that you mentioned the competing part, because
Yeah.
that was my dad's reasoning behind, investing a lot of money in a big travel team, because
Mhm.
you have to invest to play against the best. And if I wanted
Mhm.
to play D1, it wasn't just about getting to D1, it's about like actually playing and winning. And, like
Mhm.
if I'm not facing pitchers that are some of the best out in California, or just we're meeting there to hang out and play each other, then I'm not getting better. So it's
Yep.
so good that you're bringing this to light, because there are organizations that are, in the Midwest that are competing, in California in these great tournaments.
Absolutely.
And so I want athletes, even if they live in the Midwest or even the East Coast, there are places, I mean, it's probably going to be California, so I know it's a trip, but like there are places where you can play against the best and seek to perform to go and win. And
Mhm.
so I'm so glad you mentioned that, because so many people are like, well, I don't have a chance if I live out here. And I'm like, that's a lie.
No, that's not true. Yeah,
I'm from
that's not
Fort Wayne,
true.
Indiana. Nobody knows that place
Mhm.
for softball at all. But as
Mhm.
long as you're finding teams that are going to keep challenging you, and you have another shortstop or another player that plays your position that's challenging you to rise to the occasion, that's just going
Mhm.
to ultimately make you better. um,
Yeah.
and one of the questions, I remember Amanda answering one of these at a package deal clinic, and one of the parents was like, hey, how do I find the right team for my daughter? And I
Mm.
think Amanda said, as long as you're not the best on the team and you're being challenged on that team,
Yep.
you're on the right team.
Exactly. That's so
And
true.
and it sounds like that was like your entire journey from the time you
Oh
started
yeah.
to the time you finished. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. So
Mhm.
one more thing about travel ball, you said that you trained and you worked out with your coaches.
Mhm.
What did a typical, like, let's say Wednesday night, shortstop session, what were the things that you guys were working on, in your soul work aside from the team and everything?
Yeah. So before I played with Mike, I was training with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it took me a while to get there. I had separate, I had earlier in my career, I had different fielding instructors and hitting instructors. And then I finally dialed into Mike. But when we did fielding lessons, I remember it was Monday nights. It was always the last session because we were the oldest. And we would focus a lot on the little things. First of all, we couldn't do too much because we were in a cage. We were inside. We weren't outside.
Mm,
So if you can just imagine, it was a lot of drills. We focused on the little things of glove work and short hops and, being on our knees and taking our feet out of it and just focusing on our glove. And then that's when we got into moving our feet. And then we would throw on the run, or we would focus on throwing around the bases. It was a lot more so in lessons. It's a lot more about the little things, and then dialing in to making sure that that's perfect so that we can ultimately just do it secondhand when we get into the game. And so I think with fielding lessons, I absolutely love them because defense is my thing, but we focused a lot more on drills rather than ground balls, and just nailing ground balls on us. That was more so practice on the weekends outside. And so I loved that part of Monday nights defense because it was focusing on the little things, and that's when you get better. Essentially, that's when you learn so much, and then you get on the field and you apply that onto the field at practice, and then it's just like all of a sudden it clicks. And when it clicks, man, that's a good day.
That's awesome. So I just interviewed Morgan Stewart last week, and we
Hmm.
both worked with her at the package deal. And essentially package deal is tons of drills thrown at you in a
Yeah.
really short amount of time, which I love.
Right.
I love the format because you're at the drill just long enough to get the drill, and then you move on to the
Yeah.
next one. So you're basically going home with like a million drills. In that environment, I can't say how I would react to it as an athlete. I'd probably be like so particular about footwork, or so particular about where's my glove, and you don't really have time to ask many questions. You just have to
Hmm.
execute. And I feel like
Hmm.
I love that strategy of just, hey, you don't have to completely get it. Just go at it. You'll figure it out.
Hmm.
So from package deal, because I'm sure there's going to be some package deal listeners right now, what are some of those drills that you feel like maybe you did similarly when you were growing up, or just some of your favorites that'll just make defenders better?
Yeah, I definitely think Morgan definitely understands and comprehends the drills and understanding breaking it down. She does it better than most.
Yeah.
And just the ability to separate everything. So when I say separate, I mean footwork to glove work to
Mm-hmm.
throwing, and kind of just breaking it down to its simplest form. And that's what package deal does. They give you, like you said, tons and tons of drills, and it's up to you of what you want to do with it. And if you just say, oh, okay, this was a fun experience, and then you never touch on them again, it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
You just wasted your money. You have
Yeah.
all of these drills, take them home and apply them, or take them to your team and apply them. So that's just my one little thing that I wanted to say. But
Yeah.
um, definitely love the drill of like good hop, bad hop. I think that's huge for footwork, and then also for glove work. It's kind of like it ties in both of those. Just being able to, it's kind of more challenging for the younger girls because they don't understand how to really measure the hop
Yeah.
quite yet. But I think it's really good to continue to practice, and then as you get older, high school, my age or our age, we kind of grasp it more. But it's always good to touch back on. Good hop, bad hop is awesome. And then also just a small one. I'm sure Morgan does it at her PD clinics, TPD clinics. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. It's just throwing around the bases. It could
Yeah.
be as small or 60 feet if you would like it, but you apply a tag and you make them switch their feet, and you just throw around and you throw around. And then once they get warmed up, then you put a clock on it. And I think if you put a clock on anything and you apply that pressure, all of a sudden you're going to see these missed throws. You're going to see girls bobbling the ball. And that's what we want. We want to create pressure. We want to create game-like situations as much as we can, because obviously nothing compares to the game. So we have to practice that. So I think just the simple fact of throwing around bases, it can be 60 feet, 45 feet, 30 feet, doesn't matter. Just getting that pressure and getting that footwork, that glove work, the tags perfected, I think is huge.
Yeah. And again, like you're using all the same words I use, which is fun. So that finding a way to perfect a drill, people probably think, well, why the heck would you want to perfect a drill? Because you're not doing drills in games. That's what people say a lot.
Mhm.
And I'm like, then you're not actually looking at this the way that you should. If you can work to perfect a drill and maybe add a time, if that's something that you can add, especially on defense. I'm always looking at the hitting aspect because that's
Right.
my baby and yours is defense, but
Yeah.
it's essentially the same. Like if you work to perfect a specific drill and you pair that with, doing that in practice and doing it with a clock time or whatever, you're going to see your game get better. Now, it's not
Yes.
one of those where you're like, oh, it's because of this drill I'm good at this. It's not always the case. It's not always that clear,
Mhm.
but you'll just see yourself becoming a better overall athlete when you work to
Mhm.
perfect, some of the drills that you're explaining. Can you
Mhm.
just, for the audience that doesn't know what good hop, bad hop is, can you just do like a quick 30-second breakdown of what that drill is?
Yeah, so you have obviously the person with the ball, the thrower, I guess is what you would call them. And they throw the ball into the ground like really close to your feet, and then you try to get a really high bounce. And then what the purpose of the fielder would be is to measure how high the bounce is and when it's going to bounce, how it's going to bounce based off of the spin, based off of the dirt, whatever surface you are on. And then the fielder has to catch the ball on the second hop, on the second short hop, sorry, the second hop, and you want to get a short hop into your glove. So if it's kind of hard to explain, actually,
I
now that
know.
I'm explaining it and
I
not
know it is.
demoing it, but you want to focus on the second hop is what you want to catch, and it has to be a short hop. So we generally want to catch a short hop like right below your knee, below your knee, probably around your ankle. And it just really makes you focus on your footwork, because you don't want to be planted on the ground, because then you're probably not going to catch it on the second hop, or you're not going to catch it on a short hop. You want to be able to move your feet and catch it on a short hop. So it makes that really cool sound of when it hits the ground and it goes right into your glove. I love that sound. So
Yeah, it's like that
hopefully
tap
that
tap.
was good.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
the
gonna
tap
be so proud of that, by the way, of that
tap. Good.
description. Yeah, she always likes to say how the easiest hop to get is a short hop because
Oh
you
yeah.
trap it before it can do anything crazy. So
Hmm.
I really, really love that drill. It's one of my
I
favorite
love it
drills.
too.
Yeah, I'll do my best, or I won't do my best. I'm going to put a link to that drill in the show notes for anybody that's just like,
Yes.
how the heck do we do this? Because translating a podcast to a real life visual is very hard, and I'm a visual learner. So for those
Yeah.
visual learners that are struggling right now, I got you. Go to the show notes and you'll be able to find a drill. And if it's not up, I'm going to text Morgan and be like, hey, post something. But with that, I think that's just so fun, you breaking down your favorite position in the world,
Hmm.
and how much time you're putting outside of the game. Like, let's say you're 15 years old and you're striving to become the best you can be. What type of sacrifices does that take? Like what are you walking away from? What are you saying no to so that you can make sure you're spending more time on developing yourself than maybe doing
Yeah.
some of the extracurriculars that most people get to do when they don't play sports at this level?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard being a teenager and then just feeling like almost left out of high school or whatever age that you are in. But I think you need to have a gut check and you need to look in the mirror and say, is this what I want to do? Do I want to go to college and be an athlete and play softball or, whatever the sport may be? But and with that comes sacrifices, like you said. I mean, I didn't necessarily go to every single school dance. I went to prom, yes. I went to my senior prom, yes. I did not go to all of the school dances, and that may be hard for some girls because that's what they want to do. I didn't go to all of the football games. You know what I mean? I knew that I had to be up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. the next day on Saturday for practice, for a 3 to 4 hour practice. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, we had about 6-hour practices with a lunch break, but
Wowza. Woo.
yes, it was an all day thing. So I knew what I was getting myself into. So I had to make the sacrifice because I knew myself, Delaney Spaulding, I wanted to be D1 and I wanted to go play. And I knew the sacrifices that was going to take. I cannot stay out all night on Friday night and knowing that I have a 6-hour practice on Saturday morning where I knew I was going to condition. I knew I was going to be out there in the heat all day. And they were going to demand my very best. And not to mention, we actually did have college coaches go to our practices. So there's another thing. And whether you're committed or not, if you have a college coach at your practice, you don't want to look defeated or you don't want to have any type of edge. And don't for 1 minute think that they're not going to call your coach and say, Delaney Spaulding, she was looking a little defeated out there at practice today. Like, what's going on? So anyway, that's just something kind of my little spiel. But I mean, I had lessons an hour away every Monday night, and then every Thursday night was hitting. I was doing homework on the way there. I was doing homework on the way back. So I think you learn a lot when you get into college as far as time management. But if you can learn that, like when you are in high school, even younger, that would be amazing. But in high school, just learning the time management of, if you do not focus on your school and your studies, you're not going to have that fun time of practice and softball and games. And you learn that really, really, really quick in college. So the quicker that you learn that, I think you'll have the best setup to when you get to college. So just having that sacrifice of time management of, if I want to go, I know I have an event or this movie time at 7:00, but I have my school that I need to study for. And then also maybe I need to hit off of the tee, or maybe I need to do some wall ball drills or something. I need to time it out so that I can make that movie of what I want to do. But I'm just, like I said, I mean, just having your priorities straight of school and then softball and then social, or maybe it's school and then social or one day, but just understanding that there's going to be sacrifices if you want to be great, if you want to go to the next level. And that's okay, because it is 100% worth it. And I will say that, and I know you will say that, the sacrifices that we made during the summer, like our summer is softball, and the sacrifices that we make during high school, it is 1000% worth it when you get to college, because that is the ultimate experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, where do I begin with this? Because I think that's the
Right.
hardest thing to get across, is if you want it bad enough, you're going to have to do a lot of things that you wouldn't, when you look at it from the bigger picture, like what sounds more fun? Like going to a movie with your friends. I mean, we're all going to choose softball now because we've like done this long enough, but like when you're young, like choosing softball over a movie with your friends sounds really tough. It sounds like, well, softball's not as fun as the movie. Okay, well, your priorities, what are they? Because you said your priorities were D1. So all of those decisions that you had to make were simple, because to play D1, these were the things that were required of me. And I think, and obviously this is a podcast for parents, so I want to get them into this conversation as well. So if your athlete has trouble deciding, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to go to this basketball practice at the same time as the softball practice, or like where are the priorities, And so like, let's say your athlete's in high school and she's having that dilemma, basketball or softball.
Yeah.
Well, what's her big goal? Like what's the thing that she's after? If she's after a D1 scholarship in softball, then it's an easier decision. So I hope that, parents and athletes that are listening to this understand that it's not always easy, but we can simplify it by really being very clear on where it is we're headed and where we want to be. Is there anything else?
Definitely. I would say it's definitely not easy. I mean, you're a teenager, you're growing up, you're learning yourself, you're trying to fit in. And then on top of that, like you can't go to certain things because that I have softball, that saying is so popular.
Hmm.
But it's so true. And so I think it definitely goes back to what you're saying. What are your big goals? What are your big dreams? You really have to look in the mirror, and you really have to have these conversations with your parents or with the people or with someone that you look up to. Because if you want to go D1, it's very simple. If you want to go D2, it's very simple. If you want to go D3, it's very simple. You know what I mean? It's very simple of the decision that you want to make based off of your goals and your dreams. Now, if you just want to have fun and play high school softball and then just go to college and go to school, that's fine. That's your decision. That's your goals. That's fine. And then that's up to you. But like you said, if you want to go to college and play softball, you're going to have to make sacrifices. But in the end, 100% worth it. I will say that until my grave.
Yeah, me too. So what were your parents like when you said, well, how old were you when you wanted to go D1? Do you know?
Oh,
Pretty young?
I don't,
I mean, you had
yeah,
sisters that were in D1
yeah,
when you were born, so it's
yeah,
relative. But yeah,
yeah.
so basically from a pretty young age, you wanted to play D1.
Yeah, I know I wanted to go to college to play.
Yeah. And I didn't really have that decision until I was like a freshman in high school, which is so interesting.
Mm,
So think about, you decided at a much earlier age than I did, and I didn't play for that great big organization until I was going into my sophomore year of high school. So when you
mhm.
think about like the earlier you can kind of pinpoint what you want is, the better. So I will ask you this question. When you were little, was Team USA on your mind? Were you watching, Natasha Watley on TV and you were like,
Defined
I want
little.
to
I mean, yes. So Tosh is definitely my like, the shortstop that I absolutely admire and want to be. Absolutely. Now, when I was younger, I absolutely watched them in the Olympics, and I loved Jenny Finch. I did, and I'm not a pitcher, which is so funny, but I loved Jenny Finch. I loved Tosh. But I will be lying if I said that I had dreams and aspirations of being on Team USA throughout my entire career. And the only reason why I did not is because we were not in the Olympics. I did
Yeah.
not understand
Yeah.
what a Team USA was without the Olympics.
Hmm.
Um, and so, I don't want to mislead, your listeners and say, oh, since the womb, I've dreamt of being on Team USA, because that would just be a lie. When I got the invite in 2016, first of all, I thought it was fake. I to the tryout, I thought it was fake. I had to like race up to my head coach's office, and like I showed it to her, and she just like almost threw my phone down and gave me a big hug and was like, "Yes, this is real." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea." Like, and so I think from there on is when I had dreams of being an Olympian and being on Team USA for the rest of my career. I don't see myself not, as long as I perform and make the team, I don't see myself not being on Team USA until I retire.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, the dream wasn't really alive when we weren't in the
Yeah.
Olympics, because I will tell you, when we were taken out of the Olympics, that fire to, visualize myself in a Team USA uniform, I thought that's what it was too. It was just the Olympics,
Yeah.
and, seeing you compete since 2016 for this team has been so much fun. You are
Thank you.
literally like, I enjoy watching you so much. As much as I told you this earlier before we started recording, Javi Baez is my favorite,
Yeah.
MLB shortstop, but I'm like, Delaney Spaulding is my obvious choice for shortstop and softball. And it's just so amazing how good your hands are, and like, testament to all the drills you did growing up. Like, your
Yeah.
footwork's incredible. It's like you just have such a knowledge for the game, and it's so enjoyable to watch. What have been some of your favorite enjoyments of playing for Team USA for as long as
Ooh.
you have?
Yeah. So I would definitely say playing college ball and then playing international ball, which is Team USA. It's definitely, it's another step. It's the next level. I mean, I'm playing with some 30-year-olds, And at the time I was about 21. And so, you know, these are grown women. They understand the game. They understand how to hit. And there's a difference between hitting and like how to hit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
There's a difference. There's another level. And so first of all, I learned really quick. And so I really enjoyed the pace of the game of Team USA and of the international game, and just how competitive it is, not on the field, but how competitive it is, like mentally, and how to strategically play a game and how to prep for a game. It's completely different than I've ever done in my entire career. And so what I was getting at is I was in the middle of college when I was still playing Team USA, and 2016 was a really big year for Team USA. It was World Championships, and that was the same year that we were getting that the vote was for softball and baseball to be back into the Olympics. And so winning the World Championships that year was huge for us. And we played Japan also, and which the 2020 Olympics are in Japan. So that was huge for the both of our countries to be in that final for World Championships. And these are things that I did not know my first year being on Team USA. And so, you know, I'm just playing the game that I love, and, you know, just doing Delaney and
doing Delaney. I love that.
Yeah. And there's this whole other, you know, layer behind what was actually going on with the Olympics and everything. And so 2016 was a really cool year. And just learning the international game. And I was very young in this international game and this next level of softball. And I grew up really quick through that. So I really love the game within the game at that next level of pro ball and international ball. It's the same thing pretty much. So that's what I really take away from Team USA. Is just that next level of softball. Man, it's so much fun. I wish we were on TV so much more, and I'm so thankful that pro softball has been on TV these past couple of months. But I mean, to play Team USA, or to play on Team USA and to play Team Japan, I mean, that game is intense. I am more exhausted mentally than my feet are in those spikes. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, the final Olympics that softball was in, USA lost to Japan. So that's where, you know, that rivalry and fire and excitement comes from. And actually, when I played in Dallas, one of my teammates was Ari Yamada. So the one
she's one of the greats.
Like, absolute legend. And it's so crazy to see things almost come, you know, full circle for the game. Like, we're back. Like, I am already getting goosebumps thinking about 2021. And so with that, I want to ask you a quick question about, you know, the older players. What are some of the things? I mean, I had a conversation with Tosh my first year in the pro league. I was like, Tosh, like, when do you think you peaked? Like, when do you think like you were at your absolute best? And this was actually her final season playing in the NPF. She goes, I was 27. She's like, I felt like when it came down to physical skills and my mental skills, I was just there at its best at 27. I was like, whoa. And when you think about it, most softball careers end before 21. Like it's just insane because you think about all the knowledge that you're gaining from having teammates like this for Team USA and being around, you know, the game in Japan for her. What if some of the bigger or older players that you compete alongside, what are some of the things that they're teaching you?
I would say the main thing that I have learned playing with girls that are older than me is just the consistency, the training, and the simplicity of this game. I think we kind of overanalyze how softball needs to be played. Not against your opponent. I'm talking about like with your swing and with how you field and stuff. I think that when you keep it simple and you see ball hit ball, or you see a ground ball and you field it and you throw it to first base, you are going to give yourself the best chance to make that play or to get that hit. You know what I mean? And so with that, I think the more you play this game, and that's why Tosh said she peaked at 27. And I would probably say I definitely have not peaked yet, which is really exciting. And
That's so
unfortunately,
exciting.
yeah, and unfortunately I got hurt, but and hopefully I go up and not down.
You will.
But
You'll go up.
oh, definitely. But I'm just saying, like, you learn so much about yourself and body awareness, and how to play the game within the game even better, even more. I think college, you're going up, but when you go beyond that, when you get to pro and you get to international, I mean, you get that peak and you really understand how to play this game to the best of your own ability. And then once everybody collectively understands that and is growing up in this game, I mean, it's just fun softball. And that's the one thing I think I have really learned, is that the more you are in this game and the longer you are in this game, it becomes so simple. And when you just have an understanding of your body and how your body feels, and you just body awareness, look out, because if you can feel your front hip flying open when you hit, and you just do a pre-movement and you're like, oh, that didn't feel very good. I mean, that's scary, and that's awesome. And so that's when it just gets really fun, in my own opinion.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because just this morning I was watching an Athletes Unlimited video of Kat Osterman, and she was mic'd up. I think it was yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
she was talking about her front shoulder, and she's just like, I got to get my shoulders figured out, like in line or whatever.
Yeah.
And straight to your point, that is complete body awareness.
Oh
And
yeah.
the more reps you put in, pitching, fielding, hitting, the more you can feel that. And so I get giddy when I think about this stuff, because as a hitting coach working with athletes right now, I'm not about, you need to do this many reps of this drill. No, you do the drill, you tell me what you're feeling. And when it clicks, then we can like start elevating and like trying new things, but it's about feeling that, that light bulb, or it's about, feeling, oh, hey, I think I maybe opened up my hips a little bit early. Just like simple things like that. It's so good. And I'm so glad that you dove into that, because I think people do overcomplicate the game. I mean, I feel like we all do at some point in time.
Oh yeah.
But it sounds like the more simplistic you think, the more fun the game is.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a big part of it, because if you want to play until you're 27, you have to have fun. If you want to play until you're 30, 33, you have to have fun. I mean, two of my teammates, Monica and Kat, the oldest on the team, I mean, they wouldn't be doing this to come out of retirement. They wouldn't be playing for this long if they didn't absolutely have fun and love the game.
Yeah, it's so fun watching everybody compete. And it's been super fun having Kat, in the Athletes Unlimited League. So you mentioned that you're injured, and you're coming back from recovery. We talked about this off the cuff earlier, but man, you're watching Athletes Unlimited wishing you're out there on the field.
Oh yeah.
I wish you were out there too.
Yeah, it was tough for the first couple of weeks, I'm not gonna lie. But once I, once I got out of that, I was just really, really happy. I was really excited for this new, I guess you call it league, that has come to light on our TVs, and for it to be on mainstream, ESPN2 and CBS. I mean, that's huge, because obviously with college not being on TV this year, on mainstream, and then just to have pro softball hasn't really been on mainstream TV, I think. And so that's really, really huge to see the greats play and have that ability for everybody to watch them play. Because me and I mean, we absolutely know of all of the great players that are playing in pro softball right now, but we want the entire world to see that. And so they have that opportunity with this new league, and it's huge for our sport.
Yeah. And it's perfect timing, in my opinion, with having, the Olympics now coming next summer. It's almost like that little appetizer before the big meal.
Yeah.
So let's kind of dive in to your injury. So you were injured, was it this past spring?
Yeah, February.
Yeah.
So winter, I guess. Yeah. February, our very first tour game.
Man.
It was
it was in Palm Springs, right?
No, actually, it was before that.
Oh,
It
no
was,
way.
yeah, it was, at USF. It was our very first tour game. We had just been practicing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and it was our very first game. We were kicking off the Stamp Decider tour, and it was about the 6th inning. It was gonna be my last at bat. But it's the story that you hear other athletes that where it happens to other athletes, and you think, "Oh, that's so terrible." Like my heart aches for her, him, and oh, that'll never happen to me. And boom, it happened to me. Like I have prepared pretty much my entire career to go and play at the highest level of the Olympics. Since 2016, I've been prepping for this year. And then boom, our very first game, ACL meniscus torn.
Mm.
Um, and it was awful. I wasn't in too much pain. I didn't really know what happened. I've never been injured. Let's put that out there as well. I've never been injured.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate to not have an injury that kept me out. And so I knew something felt different. I didn't hear a pop. I didn't necessarily go through everything that, people say when you tear your ACL. Didn't have that. Walked off the field. I was good. Well, they did the ACL test in the dugout, and the orthopedic surgeon kind of gave a weird look to my trainer. And I'm like, just tell me. Just tell me. I want to know. I'm right here. Like, I just got to know. And he goes, well, it looks like ACL may be impacted or affected. I was like, okay, well, didn't want to hear that. And so I got an MRI the next day, and sure enough, ACL medial meniscus, sorry, which is on the inside part of my knee, were torn, and it was going to be 8 to 10 months minimum. And I didn't have that, or sorry, 8 to 9 months. I definitely did not have that. This was February. The Olympics were in July. This is before everything hit, as far as the coronavirus. And so I was like, there's no way I can get surgery. There's absolutely no way. Well, the Olympic committee sent me to the University of Utah, who has a great orthopedic surgeon out there. So I got another MRI. Turns out, same diagnosis, ACL meniscus. He was like, same thing, 8 to 10 months, we can get surgery. And he's like, Olympics are out of the question if you get surgery. And I'm like, all right. And I'm already in my mind thinking, but I'm like, all right, let me talk to my family. Let me figure this out. Immediately I got into the car, and I was just like, I cannot get surgery. I cannot. If I've been preparing for this for way too long. I'm just going to brace it up. I'm going to go to physical therapy to get my thigh, my quad, my hamstring, my calf, get it strong. And I'm just going to roll with the punches. I'm going to take the pain, which I wasn't in too much pain, thankfully, or really any pain at all. And I was going to do it. I was so going to do it, actually. I had been hearing so many people have been reached out to me, and it was very hush hush. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want it to be the news story.
Mhm.
I'm not the type of player to put myself out there at all. And so I didn't want anybody to know. But the people that did know, as far as doctors and everything, they would tell me so many stories of yeah, we have soccer players who played without ACLs. We have football players that play without ACLs, MLB players. And I'm like, okay, keep it coming, keep it coming.
Yeah.
So I had so much reassurance that I could absolutely do this without an ACL. And I was going to absolutely do it without an ACL. And then, as we all know, the coronavirus came in what was it, end of February, I believe. We were
Mhm.
at the University of Washington, and we flew home. We flew into Seattle that morning, flew home that night because of everything that was going on. I called right away to the University of Utah. I said, I need surgery right away. Well, and they're like, what? All elective surgeries are shut down right now. So you'll be at the top of our list, and then we'll call you. And I was like, well, actually, I'll call you every day. And
Yeah.
so yeah, once I heard in California, at least, that the elective surgeries were starting to perform again, I called the University of Utah right away, and I said, all right, let's do this. And so they did. My surgery date was May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I actually drove to Utah because I didn't want to fly, because I knew
Mm.
I had to get a COVID test
Right.
So I drove to Utah, got a COVID test on May 1st, and then I had to quarantine for those 4 days. And then May 5th, I had surgery. And then here we are, 5 months and about 2 weeks later.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
So
yeah,
much.
it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah, so much to unpack too. And I think I'm really glad you said you've never gotten injured, because
Yeah.
if anything, this could be the ultimate test, because,
Yeah.
people that get injured, I mean, we always hear like your biggest, it's not a failure. Like getting injured is not a failure, but like your biggest
Yeah.
like punches to the gut, they really teach you the most.
Oh, yeah.
And so this sounded like it was the ultimate teacher. So,
100%.
so, I mean, first off, what's something that's keeping you? I mean, I guess I think I can answer this question, but what is that one motivator for you right now that's like getting you to the gym, getting you to physical therapy, getting you to work on your mental game right now?
Yeah. So I'll start by saying one of the biggest tips that I've gotten from almost everybody after I announced that I was getting surgery, um, was that, it's a grind, stay in the grind, like keep being positive, because ACL recovery is rough. But like, I'm not gonna lie, that it's rough. And so I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, okay, like thank you so much. But I'm a pretty mentally strong person. Like I don't feel sorry for myself. Like I'm in it to win it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'll be good. I'll be good. Well, oh my gosh. I have never in my life said, no, I can't do that, or no, I'm not, I don't want to do that, or are you sure I can do that? Like more in my life. Like that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. Like, Delaney, go on the bike. I don't know. I can't do the bike. No, yes, you can. And I'm like, okay. And like, I couldn't even get like a full, like, what is that, revolution on a
Yeah.
bike. Um, because I was so nervous and so scared. And my physical therapist he made me one day finally just sit on the bike and do it, because he knew I could, because he knows my range of motion. And so he knows that I could do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. And he goes, Delaney, sit on the bike and do it. I was like, all right, whatever you say, Jeff, like I can't do it. And of course I proved him right and I did it. But there's just so many obstacles that you have to go over. And so having this injury and being it such a big injury that it is, I've learned so much about myself and so much about my body that I'm very thankful for that. But my biggest motivation definitely is to get 100%, is to get better, and knowing how my knee feels and how my left knee feels or my good leg feels and everything. Like I would just want it to feel good again. I think that's my motivation, as well, on top of my teammates and my team and the Olympics. I
Mm-hmm.
know that they are working just as hard. I mean, half of my team is at AU, Athletes Unlimited. Another 3 or 4 girls are playing in Japan. Like, and then the other like 2 or 3 girls, they're training. So what am I going to be feeling sorry for myself because I had surgery, I tore my ACL, and I'm just going to pout in my bed? Absolutely not. Like, I'm going to bust my butt and I'm going to get into physical therapy and I'm going to dominate all of these drills so that my physical therapist doesn't have any more drills to give me, because I've just
Yes.
dominated all of them. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I as soon as I tore my ACL, yes, those 3 to 4 days, the worst days of life. Like, I cannot even comprehend the emotions that I was feeling, from tearing it to getting the MRI results to having to tell my teammates. Oh my gosh, Ashley, that was the worst morning of my life. And like, not even getting the MRI results can even compare to having to tell the team. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even look at that. Like, my head was down while I was talking because everybody was crying. And it was devastating. But and then going through that, and then having to decide not to do surgery, and then now, getting surgery and then going through the process. I mean, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. But definitely my biggest motivation is my teammates. Just because I know that like, they're doing their thing. They're doing it. This is our off season right now technically because, the Olympics are postponed. And I know that they are working 10 times, 100 times harder than, you know, me right now as far as softball. And so I got to dial it in. I got to get better. And so that's really, what gets me out of bed and what gets me to the gym and to physical therapy right now.
I love that we've come full circle. And when you were younger, you were working on perfecting drills and like trying to get as good as you could at those. And then now you're sitting here back at square one, trying new
Yeah.
drills, to enhance your knee strength. And it's like Delaney's coming full circle right now. And that's
Yeah.
why we all know you're going to come out of this stronger, because you have the same attitude that got you to where you were in the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is so much fun. And honestly, you said your teammates are your biggest motivation, and I'm sure they're reaching out to you all the time and
Mhm.
showing their support. How important has that been to you in your recovery?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think one of what besides my injury aside, but one of my biggest fears was that I wasn't going to have the same like experience. I wasn't going to not that I wasn't going to be a part of the team. Absolutely not. My teammates are amazing and they would never make me feel like that, but I wasn't going to be able to do the same things as I did when I wasn't injured. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I got injured, that night, oh my god, my teammates, they're amazing. That night, we had a team meeting, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going in rehab right now." This was while we were on tour. I was like, I'm in rehab right now. Like, can we do it like in 20 minutes?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, no problem." Well, turns out it was actually for me, and they all came into the training room and they had like a Build-A-Bear for me, and I know, and they had a voice recording in it, and all this was like I just tore my ACL the night before. And so like immediately they were right there. The coaches were in there, the staff was in there, all of my teammates, and it was just like this amazing moment that okay, I knew I had their support and I knew they believed in me, that they were not going to stray away during this entire process. And even now with like getting surgery, they sent me a video for right after. They constantly are and like asking what I'm doing. And then with every single update that I do on social media or whatever, I get a flood of texts from them. So it's like, I have so much support with them alone, and it's awesome to see. I mean, they have been there for every single step, and that includes the coaching staff as well. So,
And I'm so glad you mentioned this because, I've never had a serious injury like this either. And
yeah.
I think it's important that you're mentioning this because I'm sure there are athletes all over this country that are injured and that,
Mhm.
maybe teammates just don't know what to do,
Mhm.
to help that athlete out. But
Yep.
apparently the more love you can give them, the better, because it just shows team camaraderie. It just shows
Yeah.
support. It's that little, like it's a visible sign that there is an end to this journey, this tunnel that we're in now, and it's like that light that you're striving yourself towards. So
Yeah, and I will say another thing is, like, include them. And so when I was in the dugout and I wasn't playing, I was still in the dugout, and I had teammates like coming up to me and asking like, "Okay, like did you see my last at bat? And like did you
mm,
see anything?" Or like the shortstop would be like, "Okay, so like did you see that ball hit in the gap? Like was I in the right position?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Like they haven't forgotten about me, you know?" And
yeah,
so like when you said like maybe teammates don't know what to do, and just absolutely include them still because they're there, like they are a part of the team. Like yeah, sure they got injured, but I mean they're like for me personally, like that didn't stop me. Like that injury did not stop me. And so I just think definitely include them because they're still a part of your team.
yeah, absolutely. This is so good. So what do you think some of the biggest things this ACL tear has taught you are?
I mean, it's definitely taught me a lot about my body,
Yeah.
that's for sure. And just like being proportionate like with your quad and then with your hamstring. I mean, I could talk about that, but um I think just mentally, I think you take for granted so much when you're smooth sailing and we've never had an injury before, and you just take that for granted. I mean, I may not be able to do some of the things that I had before before I was injured. And so I think mentally of just really focusing on the little things and really and really dialing in to what you are doing and perfecting it. Because with rehab, I cannot essentially move on until I have mastered what I am doing for the past like 4 weeks, I would say. So I get a new program pretty much every 4 weeks as long as my knee allows it. So it's not necessarily how I'm feeling. It's basically like how my knee is doing and the biology of my knee. And so, and testing it and the strength of it. And so I have really, really, really focused on that and the little things and perfecting the little things. Like I, at one point, could not hop over a line, like a carpet lining. Like for a moment there, I couldn't even hop over that. And like, obviously this was later on in my rehab when I was jumping and stuff. But I was like laughing to myself because I'm like, I can't jump over the line. Like it's something I should be able to do in my sleep. And so I think of just obviously the little things. And then just another thing is just embracing the suck of like what's going on with my injury and recovery, because it is hard. I didn't walk for a little bit, and I started running finally and jumping, and not being able to ride a bike, and not like it was rough. And so just embracing that and understanding that it's part of the process, I really had to understand that, because I'm the type of girl where like, you tell me a drill, I'm going to go and do it. And if I don't master it that time, I'm going to do it again until I get it. And I couldn't do that with my recovery, because there were certain things that I could not do because I would re-injure myself. And I'm like, no, I can do this, but I know that I can't do this. And then it comes with the whole other side of that of, no, I can't do this. I'm getting over that fear of not wanting to re-injure yourself. It's been a lot. It's been a journey, that's for sure. But that's what's like been so awesome, is to see my growth in this journey and to see how amazing I feel right now. And I still have about 3 more months of physical therapy, and I am so excited because I'm like, oh, I feel great right now, and I'm running and I'm jumping and I'm hitting and I'm fielding and I feel awesome. And I still have 3 more months. I'm like, oh, watch out, world. Like,
I love
I'm
this.
so excited for like 2021. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I told you off air, like we have a training camp in December, and my physical therapist told me in my last meeting that I will be cleared to field, to hit, and to play softball with a brace on come December. And I'm just like, praise the Lord, because this is amazing. This is like everything that I've done to get to this point and to get to December. I mean, has been hard and has been rough. My friends, my teammates are playing in Chicago right now. That was hard to see on TV because I should be there 1000%. And so it's been a journey, but ultimately I know that I will be such a better athlete, but even better person, which is more important than after this injury and after this. It's bittersweet of how, of when and how, and the trials that have come with my ACL tear and surgery, because obviously with everything going on, I wish I did not tear my ACL, but at the same time, like I have grown so much. Like I'm learning stuff about myself that I never even knew. I'm learning stuff about my body that I never even knew. I'm going to be so much better after this. Like it's incredible.
Agreed. I'm just like fangirling over here. I can't wait to watch you, in all the clips that are going to be taken from the December, when you guys start practicing and everything. Like I hope that everybody listening is just anxious for you to get back, because it's just so awesome to see how you're looking at this process as something that it sucks, but you got to get through it. And you're even laughing at yourself, along the way too, which I feel like is just so important.
You have to, right?
Yeah, it's like hitting. It's like when you swing at a rise ball that, the catcher misses because it's so high.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to laugh, because.
And I think one thing too, also of what helped me is, I think that's what I was getting at beforehand, is like the 3 to 4 days were terrible. But after that, it's almost like, who cares? Like, your ACL is torn, so what? It's not going to fix itself. You know what I mean? Like, get over yourself. Stop moping around. Like, you have to prepare for the Olympics. Like, okay, you're not going to get surgery. All right, now what? Like, and so that's what I think the mentality that I had in the beginning, of, okay, my teammates don't feel sorry for me anymore. Like, sure, we had our cry session, but they don't feel sorry anymore. Like, they're preparing to win gold, and I'm right there with them. So how can I contribute? I'm going to do physical therapy. I'm going to get strong. I'm going to put a brace on it, and there I go. You know what I mean? So that's also kind of helped me out as far mentally too.
This is so awesome. And I love that you're also embracing the little things. Like from the get-go, it's like that one clearance, and then the next clearance, and then, hey, I can jump now to, and that's, it's crazy and probably weird for me to say this, but it sounds like there are certain aspects of you realizing how strong you are and how far you've come. And it's almost like it's been one of the most exciting journeys for you to see that progress.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
It's kind of weird to look at it that way, like an awful, like it's awful what happened, but the fact that you're like, hey, suck it up. Like, I'm going to go win a 2021 Olympics, whether I just tore my ACL or not. Like, here we go. Come at me, world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I found myself, like, I send videos to my family of me just riding a bike, or of me into full extension, or, like that, just like you were saying, I'm just celebrating each milestone in this ACL recovery. And it may be super faint, but in ACL world, that's like this big, you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely embracing the grind, embracing the suck, embracing the journey, because it is a journey.
Drop the mic. Well, this has been an absolute, amazing conversation with you. I always love when we get to chat about softball, even more when we can support you along this journey of you getting back to the field, playing shortstop for Team USA. This has just been so much fun. And I know so many people have probably gotten more value than they thought they were going to get in this conversation. So, I mean, I have like notes out the wazoo in front of me from your journey through this recovery, because like I said, I have not experienced this, but I have an athlete right now who just had a big injury and is struggling with it. And I know this is going to help so many athletes look at it as something, rather than something that's happening to them, it's something that's happening for them to come out of this strong. So
that's awesome.
I'm stoked for people to listen to this.
Yeah. And I would just say one thing is to find something that grounds you and that can bring you home. Like, for me, I've really grown in my faith during this journey. And so if you aren't someone who reads the Bible or, grows it is, like that, then find something, write in your journal, or listen to podcasts, or someone who inspires you. You know what I mean? That has really, really humbled me and really got me through this process as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope other people are taking notes right now. Find things that ground you. That's so powerful. Well, before I let you go, how can people continue to follow you? What's your favorite platform to hang out on? How can we follow your journey?
Definitely Instagram. I'm active on Twitter during like softball season and during Team USA summers. Instagram, my handle is Delaney Lynn. Lynn's my middle name, with one N. And then same as my Twitter handle as well.
Awesome. Love it. I mean, I love all the things you're posting, especially with, being a Nike athlete and all the Louisville Slugger and Wilson
Yeah,
things that are coming out. Man, we didn't even dive into that. That'll be
I
for another
know.
conversation.
Yes, part two.
Yeah, part two. I mean, you did say that your gloves are right behind you. So YouTube
Oh yeah. Do you want me
people,
to whip them
I
out?
kind of do because
There's
they're just
one.
so pretty.
I know, and I
So
haven't touched them yet, which is upsetting.
yeah. Didn't you say you put
And this is
stars on
the
one of them?
yeah, this is my Olympic beauty.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it'd probably
gosh.
be hard to see, but yeah, it has stars on the thumb and the pinky.
Oh my gosh. So those of you
So
listening on the podcast are going to have to go watch the YouTube episode to see these gems.
yeah,
That's, geez, they're so beautiful.
I know,
Man.
and it's the new leather that Wilson just dropped. Their new
Mm.
launch. Shout out Wilson.
Shout out to Wilson. I love it. I love it. So now that people can follow you, I have one final thing. I'm going to ask you 5 quick questions. I call them 5 to
Okay,
thrive. So
five
however
to
you
thrive.
want to answer them, go at
Okay,
it. But yeah, let's dive in. Let's see
let's
what
do
you
it.
got.
All
Okay.
right,
So first question is, what's the best part about playing shortstop for Team USA?
being the leader of the infield.
Mm.
Are these supposed to be like quick answers?
Yeah, but if you want to dive a little deeper, I'll let you too.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So I guess it comes with a lot of things. I absolutely love, I love playing shortstop, and then just playing shortstop on an elite team. I think is just to the max. Like I just yeah, just being the leader and having these conversations of okay, what drill or what position do we want to be in? What oh my gosh, why am I blanking? What shift do we want to be in, or play do we want to be in? I think is really fun. Also, having elite infielders around me and pitching and a catcher on the infield with me, it just makes my life 10 times easier and more fun at the same time. So,
Ooh, good
okay,
answer. I love
thanks.
that. So from growing up in California, what was the greatest lesson you think your parents taught you?
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
I love that
I
you're
would
thinking.
say I know. I would say the discipline for sure. Discipline in every part of my life, really. I mean, but especially in school and then especially in softball. Like I said before, I mean, if I didn't do well in school, as big as my dreams were, I wasn't going to play softball. Like, you know, I guess technically in travel ball, we don't really have a grade average requirement like college does, but you better believe we did in the Spaulding household. So, I mean, I remember this was back in middle school when I played volleyball, actually. I did not do well on a test, and my mom pulled me from the volleyball team. I was so upset.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
so upset and so embarrassed. And I remember at the time being so mad at her, and I not really looking in the mirror and saying, "Well, you did poorly on the test." I don't even remember what test it was. You did poorly on the test, and that is the reason why you are not playing volleyball. And so obviously it has definitely taught me so much. So discipline
Wow.
for sure. Yeah.
Wow. That goes a long way. Did you play other sports too, other than
I
volleyball
play
and softball?
volleyball. No, just volleyball and softball.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love volleyball. I love that
It's so
sport.
much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what is something that you would tell your younger Delaney self? Let's pick the 12-year-old Delaney.
Yeah. It would definitely be to be comfortable in her own skin and to not necessarily worry about the critics and like what people are saying about you, because I had a tough time with playing soft growing up in this game, because people labeled me as having a bad attitude, or people labeled me as somebody who doesn't care to be on the field. But in reality, if you really get to know me, and this is kind of directed at coaches as well as an athlete, if you really get to know your player and you understand them as a person, you can teach them so much more as a player, and they will respect you so much more as a coach. And so that's something that I really struggled with when I grew up, because the coaches sometimes wouldn't understand that the look on my face wasn't necessarily how I was feeling or what my attitude was. Okay. And I struggled with that because I had some negativity towards me and I didn't know why. And then it would be like a spiral effect into more negativity. And it really, really affected me until a coach finally understood, like, Delaney absolutely cares. She is a baller and she wants to be on that field. Like, that's when my career shifted and changed.
Mm, that's probably been, no offense to anybody else that's been on the podcast, but that was probably my favorite answer to that question. That was,
Thanks.
that was so good. I can't tell you how many times I played and, people tried to think that they understood me, but they didn't. And it really affected
Yeah.
me. And that's
Yeah.
so, I mean, that even happened to me in the pro league, like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
And,
And
like, it's like somebody will come up to me and just say, "Smile, like, are you having fun?" And I'm like, "Of course I'm having fun." And Simone Biles said it perfectly on Dancing with the Stars, because she got criticized for that too. She
mm,
wasn't smiling, and she said, "Smiling doesn't win you gold medals." That's absolutely
yes.
true. I
Yes.
mean, I'm locked in, I'm dialed in. I don't need to smile in order to, like, be able to show that I'm having fun or that I want to be there. So,
Mm. Ugh, I
yeah.
love that. I love that. Okay, question 4. Who
Mhm.
were or was some of your biggest role models growing up? And I feel like I know the answer, but I want you to say
Of course you do.
it.
Absolutely my sisters. I mean, my oldest sister, Amber, played shortstop and wore 99. I play shortstop and wore 99. And then my second oldest went to the University of North Carolina and pitched there, actually. And my third sister, she did not play college softball, but she has taught me so much about everything else in life, that I'm super grateful for. So I have ultimately like 3 role models that I just um, think the world of, and they have really just led me down a path to be where I am today. And they are my biggest, besides my parents, that's a given, but they are my biggest supporters. And surprised me in Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series almost, I think, every single year. Like, they are just, they're incredible.
That's
Hands down,
amazing.
my sisters. Yeah.
That's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Well, before I ask you this final question, I want to just thank you so much for, not being afraid to share this tough journey that you're currently on, but the beauty in it as well.
Hmm.
And I know so many are also going to be able to learn from the journey of just growing up around the game and how you
Yeah.
became, the legendary softball shortstop that girls next summer are going to be watching on TV. I say this because I was that girl when I was little, and I was like, man,
Hmm.
these Team USA players, like, they have, done something that not many can say that they've ever done. And
Hmm.
it's pretty special, and it's pretty awesome that you could agree to be on the podcast to just share a little bit of your journey. But thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out and for allowing me to be on this podcast, Ash. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I've had a blast too. All right, you ready for the final question?
Yes.
All right. How do you want to be remembered in this game?
Ooh, that's a good one. It kind of goes back to like what I would tell my little self, my younger self, is just to be me. And I think that you grow a lot on the field, and that it doesn't become your identity, but you definitely grow into your identity while playing this game, especially for how long that we have played this game. So I think that I just want to be remembered as a player who 100% is a good teammate and who just gives everything to my teammate, and to make sure to always check in, and to just to be that player that everybody can count on and depend on. But to the outside and to the fans and to the little girls, of just like being so comfortable and being so her on and off the field, that it just like outpours me, and it's like my aura, and it's like I'm having so much fun. I'm communicating and laughing and talking in between pitches, and just being like Delaney. And when you see me on the field, I'm the same person as when you are waiting in line for my autograph. And that's basically exactly what I want to portray 24/7. I think softball players are awesome to look up to because we are so relatable and we have the ability to relate to the younger girl because obviously we were them one day, but we'll sit there and we'll have a conversation with you and we'll pump you up. Like if you have a question for us, we'll answer it. If you stop us in the parking lot, we will absolutely talk to you, take a picture with you, sign anything. And so I think we pride ourselves on being so relatable. And I pride myself on the fact that, I can be that role model, that mentor, that person for you and just be relatable and be myself all the time all the time. So, for my teammates, I want to be somebody that they can depend on and that they will always have me in their corner. And then obviously to the fans and to the little girls, I just want to always show that being me, being Delaney, will never fade and will never be different on or off the field.
Wow. What an answer. You are absolutely that and more. I know it firsthand. I'm honored and blessed to have you as a friend. And I know those teammates
Me
of
too,
yours are
Ash.
honored and blessed to have you as well. So thank
Yeah.
you so, so much for
Thank you.
sharing your journey. This has been so fun and I can't wait for people to talk about it more,
Me
and share this
too.
podcast with other people because I think the whole world of this game needs to listen to this.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this was definitely a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me, Ash.